to MeMe's Kitchen. Oh, y'all, it's been a nice day today. It's still cold. Of course, it's February, so won't be much longer. Well, spring will be right around the corner, and we're looking forward to that. Today, we are going to be making something called Scotch Goodies. And if you have my cookbook, it is on page 106. So it's kind of like a 3-layer cookie, but it's not all that hard to make. You know, sometimes when you have several layers, you think, oh, I'm not going to even mess with that. But this really is not that very hard. So, and believe me, it's worth it. So the first thing it calls for, and y'all know this makes me so happy, is 2 sticks of butter, which is 1 cup. So we're going to put that in the microwave. I'm going to let it melt. I have already measured out 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar. So we'll put that in there. So while that sugar is melting, we're just going to kind of mix this in here and get these ingredients acquainted with one another before we put the butter on them. And then you use just a regular cookie sheet, well, cookie pan, and you line it with tin foil. This is very important because once you get ready to cut these and serve them up, it's just so much easier if you can just lift this right out of the pan. So we'll have that there. All right. Well, let's let that melt for another 30 seconds there because we want it all melted. And oh, I'll tell y'all something funny while that's melting. Saturday, as you know, I always keep a pound cake. So I had a pound cake, and I'd had it a couple of weeks, hadn't had a lot of people eating, and I had not taken it to anybody at work. And so I decided it was time to make a fresh one. Let's see if this is ready. So I mixed up. I was getting ready to go buy groceries, and that's a good time for a pound cake to cook because you can stick it in the oven. You can go buy groceries. Takes an hour and a half, so that works out pretty good. So I mixed it up, put it in the oven, and I took off to the grocery store. Well, when I came back, I opened the door, I was, oh my gosh, something is burning. So I opened the oven, and y'all, that pound cake was everywhere. All over my oven, all over the pan, over the racks. Oh my glory, what a mess. So I jerked the drawer open, I pulled it out, and I just took it and I turned it upside down in the sink. And then I let the oven cool off a little bit, and I got all that stuff that had overflowed. Half the pound cake now is in the bottom of the oven. I thought, oh my goodness, so I got all that cleaned up. I thought, I'm not gonna be outdone. So I mixed another one up. Got it? Fixed it, put it in the pan, stuck it in the oven. Okay? Get to doing some things around the house, and also I smelled something burning. I was like, oh my glory. So I come in, and again, this thing is running over everywhere. So I'm thinking, oh, my oven has gone kaflooey. I cannot believe it. So I had to take it out. I dumped it in there, washed my pan and everything, and I thought, oh God, what am I going to do? So I called my daughter, who does not use her oven very often, and I said, I knew they were going to a wedding. I said, I know y'all hadn't left for the wedding yet. Leave your door locked. I need to use your oven. For what? I said, I'll explain later. I said, we've had some kind of malfunction here with mine. So I mix up another pound cake. So I go flying over to her house. She lives just about 5 or 6 minutes from me. So I go over there, I stick it in the oven, and I came home. And I'm thinking, what in the world could be going on with that? All of a sudden, the light bulb came on. I thought, I wonder if that is the wrong kind of flour. So I opened my pantry and I looked, and there's my bag of all-purpose flour. I had put the self-rising flour in my container. So I knew what was happening. It was overflowing at her house. So I jumped in the car and I ran over there and I got it out. Tried to clean up her oven as much as I could because, of course, it's hot. But I got it all kind of straightened out. I wrapped it up. I came home. I dumped it out, washed my pan, and guess what? I mixed another pound cake. Caroline's showing my pound cake over there. It is so beautiful, y'all. It just turned out so good. So I just wasn't going to be outdone. Oh, y'all, I couldn't believe I did that. Okay, back to the recipe. Now, our butter is melted here. So we're just going to pour this in here. And mix this good. And we'll be right back. Okay, y'all, we're back. I just wanted you to see what this looks like now that it's all mixed together. Well, mostly all mixed together. All right, so we are going to put this right here in our pan. Get it all. Okay, I washed my hands, for those who would like to know. And then what we're going to do is just press this out into the pan. So it's just, it gets kind of thin. You don't want too much built up on that side. If you are going like to say something for church and you want to take something that's just a little different, this is a nice little change, and it makes a bunch of these things. So because when you slice it, you have about 50 or 60 little cookies. And so okay. Okay, now make sure all the holes are covered here. Even this out a little bit. All right, I have preheated the oven to 350 degrees. So we're going to put this in the oven. You let it cook until the edges are brown, which takes, about 15 minutes or so. So I'll tell you what, we'll set the timer on 15 minutes and we'll check it and see what it looks like. So we'll be right back. Okay, now we're back for our next layer. So we're going to follow these instructions here. All right, the first thing that it calls for is 2½ cups of brown sugar. So we'll put that in there. I had already measured that. 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. You know, I'll have people ask me sometimes, does it matter whether I use all-purpose or self-rising? Well, after my experience Saturday, I would definitely say you better use whatever it calls for. Okay. Get those all mixed together here. Okay. A teaspoon of salt. That's the teaspoon. Okay. All right, 4 eggs. So we're going to crack our eggs here. And I do use the Eggland's Best, and I always use the extra large. So I just like the way they cook, and it's a good size. Okay, we'll beat them up. Just want them mixed well with those egg whites. So just pour that in there. Mix this in here good. And while we're mixing, it calls for 2 teaspoons of baking powder. That's 1, 2. Teaspoon of vanilla. That should be a teaspoon. Now, this calls for a cup of sweetened coconut. Y'all know I don't measure a lot of this stuff. You can measure it if you want to, but that should be a cup. Usually you can kind of tell by the way it looks in it. Now, this is something you will very seldom see me use, but this is one of those recipes that has to have the pecans in it. And I hardly ever use those because of nut allergies of one of the family members. And so a lot of the recipes that I have, the nuts are optional. But this one, you can't leave it out. So I've already chopped them up. That was a cup of pecans. So we just mix all that up. Okay, that's all mixed up. Now let's check our, it's been 8 minutes. Let's kind of, okay. See, really and truly, you see how that's beginning to get brown right there, kind of around those corners. We can leave it just a little bit longer. And we'll be right back. Okay, this definitely is ready now. So we're going to go ahead and take that out. So we have that set on 50, so 11 minutes is what it took, which wasn't as long as we thought. I've never really exactly timed it, I guess. Okay, now we're going to put this on here. Make sure we get it all. And you just spread it out. So it will cover your entire pan. sure. Woo, that looks good. Okay, we're gonna put this back in the oven. And now, I am going to set my timer on 25 minutes. And we'll see what this looks like in 25 minutes. All right, y'all. Now, I did want to tell you one thing. The reason those cooked a little bit quick a while ago, I guess I didn't have my glasses on, but it said to cook them on 300 degrees. Well, I cooked it on 350, the national degrees to cook everything on. And so this is on 350 also. And so it's cooking a little bit faster. All right, we set it on 30 minutes, so it's really done. I'll just show you. So see, you can tell in there that all of that is done. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We'll put this over here on the cooling rack. And then I'm going to let it cool for about 10 minutes before we put the icing on it. The icing is like a lemon. It's kind of like a glaze more than it is an icing, because you don't just put it on there with a lot on it. So we'll let this cool a minute, and then we'll mix that glaze, and then we'll put that on it. So we'll be back. We're letting those cool over there. So the next layer, this is what we call, I think we said, kind of like a glaze. And it calls for 2 cups of powdered sugar. Okay. And I just use whatever brand I can find. You know, now you can't be too picky, because when you go in, you may or may not find the brand that you really like. All right, this is a tablespoon of butter, melted. Now, what you do here, you can start with like a couple of tablespoons of lemon juice. And I use this Minute Maid. It has a nice tart flavor. So I'm not really going to measure it. I'm just going to start that, and we start this off very slow, because remember, if you start that thing off high, you're going to get a powdered sugar bath. All right, so see, that's not thin enough, so we'll just put a little bit at a time, so we don't get it. Of course, if we get it too thin, we can always put more powdered sugar in it. All right, we want it just a little bit thinner than that, so we'll put just a little bit more in it. That was probably about a half a teaspoon. Okay. All right, I believe that's thin enough, so we'll come over here. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, now y'all, I'm gonna be real honest with you. While we were away, I had mixed this up. I was getting ready to put it on here. Well, when you put this layer on here, oh wait a minute, that's my timer going off. Okay. Sometimes it's not evenly spread out. So when I checked it a while ago, it was on one of the ends that was not as thick as it was on the other end. So then when I got ready to put the icing on, all of a sudden I realized, I don't believe this thing's quite as done as it should be. So I stuck it back in the oven for 10 minutes. So that was the 30 minutes. That's actually what the recipe calls for. It's 30 minutes. So you can tell it's been a while since I made this recipe. Okay, now and I'll tell you, while we were gone, this got a little thicker, so let's put let's put a little bit more lemon juice in it, because we don't want this too thick. So that's probably about a teaspoon more of lemon juice that we put in there. Because see, oh, that's just right. That's the consistency you want it. Because you want it where it will spread real easily. Okay. All right. So now, all right, we're just going to put this all along. Like I said, this is supposed to be kind of like a glaze. You're not trying to make a thick icing to go, but I think the flavor is what you're after more than anything. So we'll spread that out. That's good. Now we're gonna let that cool just a little bit before we try to slice these. Let's get all of this out of here. Y'all, this lemon just adds just that little bit of tartness that these cookies need. Okay. All right, so we'll let that cool a few minutes and then we'll slice them. Okay, I've lifted these out of the pan, as you can see here. And when you slice them, then they come up very easy. What I do is I cut that real crispy area off all the way around. Now, y'all, that is yummy. It is good, but it is very crispy. And so Caroline counted, and this is 70 cookies is what this makes. Now, we both agreed they really smell good cooking. So this is what they would look like when you have them up on a plate. And so I'll tell you what, Caroline, how about you be my taste tester tonight? And how about you taste these? She's not had these before. Y'all, I used to make them all the time, but then it's kind of the thing, you just forget about it and you quit making them. So Caroline, you taste it and then you can let everybody know what you think about it.
Delicious. Very good. They taste better than they smell.
Okay. All right, so they passed the test, y'all, so that's good. So if you're looking for something different to take somewhere where you need to take a lot, this is ideal because it doesn't take that long really to make them. And they not only taste good, but there's a lot of them. So it's an easy recipe that you can make, that you can just throw together with what you have in your kitchen, and then put them like on a nice big platter or something. And so this kind of goes along with our Super Bowl theme too, because if you've got a lot of people sitting around and they're looking for stuff to munch on, this makes a bunch of cookies. So it'd be very easy to serve and very tasty to serve. So I hope you have a good rest of the evening tonight, and a good rest of the week, and stay warm. It's still kind of cold, so stay warm and stay dry. And everybody, shine for Jesus.